Black Americans are lazy or African Americans are lazy. This is what I have heard, from some Africans, of course, who are living in the United States of America. When I was just scrolling on my TikTok page, I heard about these issues. I also seen them. There are some people who were talking about this, that like the Africans. Easy. These terms are even so confusing because at the end of the day, we are all blacks. But what I mean is that the Africans who immigrated to the United States, are more successful than the Black Americans, or have more culture than the Black Americans, or are more hardworking than the Black Americans. And this dude was also saying that, Black Americans are not successful in the United States because they keep on selling drugs, or Black Americans are not successful in the United States, because their culture is violent, or Black Americans do not success in the United States because they just choose to do sports instead of learning. I wish I will not address these issues, but hey, I thought I'm just currently on my way to work. It's a beautiful morning, so I just thought, let me just address these issues of what I thought about this. So, number one, in every community, whether it is in African community or Black community, in white community, you will always have those bad sips. The people who do not care, not only do not care, but they are also not educated, which means the issues that they talk about, they actually have no idea on these issues. So, number one, for example, if you also go to the internet, you will see these major media groups like BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, and other news outlets in the United States, where they will be saying that African immigrant groups are more successful than the Black Americans. But in reality, is this even something true? Because if you should see that you only have small percentage of Africans who go to the United States and to study there. Guys, look at this beautiful place there. It's all green. It's a summer weather right now in Germany. So the media only picks this small percentage of Africans who go to the United States. They will become doctors, they will become lawyers, they will become a successful entrepreneurs, But one thing I want to tell you about these people as an African is that anyone who is able to afford to go to the United States know that they are rich. Yes, on the African context, these people, they are very rich, because in a way that a normal person like me could not even afford those type of money to start with, to start a journey to the United States. So anyone who is able to afford that know that they are already rich. So second also, what is the population of the Black Americans and the number of these African people who migrated to the United States, they become doctors. If that means successful, than the Black Americans. But one thing they do forget is that the universities that these Black Africans are going to become doctors and more successful, according to how they said, than the Black Americans. These universities were built by the Black Americans. Yes. All these, great industries that are there, whether they become entrepreneurs themselves, or they are just doctors, or they are just some type of scientists. All these are things that were done by Black Americans. Not only that, but these institutions themselves were also built by the Black Americans. So now, how can you tell me that Africans immigrants are more successful than the Black Americans, when in reality it is all about the media bias, just trying to patch two people together, just for them to fight. And the two people that they are just trying to patch together to fight, which means Africans and the African Americans at the end of the day are also the same family members. And so one thing I also want to talk about is that the media is also going to tell you that we are different. In a sense that so that like we can just fight. We are different. Yes, you are African American, this one is African, but in reality not, because when it comes to skin color, you know, like I have African American friends, you know, who are more darker than me. Or not only that, but if I am walking on the streets today, let's say in the United States, if those racist ones comes, they are going to take both of us down, because they will not know who is American and who is not at the end of the day. And this just break my heart, you know, that I should just try to explain this thing to people so that they will be able to understand. And one thing I also realize is that like the African peoples who also go to the United States or immigrate there as well, because as I said, these people are already rich. They are rich in a sense that the salaries in Africa, a normal Africans, you know, wouldn't be able to afford that, to go to the United States to start with, because it costs a lot of money. I mean, if you should compare that one to the salaries that we have here, and most of them, their families are somehow corrupt. They are corrupt in a way that maybe, you know, they are working under the government sectors, ministers, the president's sons and things like that. Then they will just go and live a lavish lifestyle at the end of the day. So this is just the reality about it. But not only that, you know, I also want to talk about like the cultural differences as well. For example, yes, we might have some differences, you know, after like generations of being apart. So we might definitely have some differences. But does that even matter at the end of the day? Because if you should see that we are all from the same ancestors, you know, for example, my surname is Barrow. If you go to some places in the United States like North and South Carolina, you will find some black people there with the same surname. And yes, I can also track, you know, my family or my roots towards these people there. Like the way if you tell someone in the United States, can you track your, let's say, you know, your family or whatsoever, or your roots back in Africa? Yes, most people can do, you know. Of course, there were also native black people in the United States, because our history also taught us about these things. And not only that, but so many of us African kids as well, like who grew up in Africa, you know, our parents also like they teach us about this history specific about the black Americans and the struggle that they went through, you know. So I just find it so sad that if you just see some, I mean, African immigrants who just immigrated to the United States thinking that they are better than, or they are clever than the African Americans, it's just a bullshit, you know, and a bunch of nonsense at the end of the day. So not only that, but if these people who immigrated to the United States also think that they can do better than like the black Americans, let's say, you know, or they are more intelligent or they are more clever than the black Americans. Now, my question to you all is that why did you immigrate to the United States to start with? I mean, why don't you stay back in Africa? Since you are intelligent, you are clever, why don't you stay in Africa? You work in Africa so that you will be able to get where you are, so that you will become a doctor. You know, the reason is you can't, because the system that we have back home in Africa, the system is about whom you know, not what you know at the end of the day. So the same system is put in place for black Americans as well in the United States. It's not about what they know, but whom they know. And some of the immigrants, so this is like one of the reasons. That's why if someone tell me that I am intelligent, I said, then why don't you stay back home in Africa and make it? Why do you immigrate to the United States? Because everything that you are enjoying over there in the US is because of black Americans. Thanks to them. Without them fighting for the freedom, without them spilling their bloods, you know, without them their children being murdered, rape, I mean, all sorts of things, you will not be able to enjoy the freedom there. The Chinese man will be able to enjoy the freedom there in the US. I mean, the Japanese man will be able to enjoy the freedom there. None. So, which means that without the black Americans, none of you other people will be able to be there. And you all claim that you are intelligent than the black Americans. In fact, when the system is just trying so hard for you two people, you know, to fight each other. And one thing I also want to mention is that, like, the same people will also claim that, you know, they can make it in Africa. I have just said that. But what I meant is that if you think you can make it in Africa, why don't you stay? Because you know that you can't make these things, I mean, in Africa. Like, you can't just, like, make it in Africa. That is why you will have to immigrate to the United States. And beside that, my last point is that if you think there is a difference between Africans and African Americans, which I said there is no difference, is that just remember, for example, with this African passport right now, living in the United States with the green card, you know, the system is going to favor you sometimes more than the black Americans, because the system knows that, number one, you are not a citizen. Number two, the system can underpay you, even your degree is more. Number three, if you do anything, they could just deport you back to Africa. But they cannot do that to the black Americans because they are citizens. And beside that, if I am also a black American, for example, if my degree says this is what I should get, you want to underpay me, why do you think will I take that job? And most of you are on the internet saying that, you know, black Americans are lazy. I mean, it goes on both sides, because I have seen videos of some African Americans also, like, talking about these things, you know, but mostly, like, these sentiments comes from some African people, so which is definitely so sad to me, you know. But if you guys think that you can make it, why don't you just stay in Africa? But you know that you can't make it, so the same system is in the United States as well. And my last point is that there is no difference between you and the black Americans, because the child that you are going to bring to this world, know that just know that your child is going to be black American, because your child is going to be born there in the United States, and he or she is going to get an American passport. So which means that he becomes automatically black Americans. He will be automatically part of the society. Not even that, but you yourself, if something should happen to you right now, it is the black Americans who will stood for you. So some of you should just put yourself down and respect each other. Know that there is no difference between South Africans and the African Americans. It's all about respect, working together as a family to free ourselves, because we are all under the same system, regardless whether you are in the United States or you are in Africa. We are all under the same apartheid system till today in this 2024. So, I mean, I just want you guys to rethink, you know, before uploading videos on the internet talking about people for no reason, because it makes no sense. So I wish you guys a great day, and if you are a black American or African, comment below what do you think. Let me know.